Guys, we are witnessing an organized, engineered collapse of the workforce over at Oracle, all amidst AI adoption. In fact, the Oracle workforce dropped over 13% in the past fiscal year. Guys, it dropped to under 150,000 employees for the first time in 4 years. And according to the fiscal 2026 report, they laid off 21,000 employees, 21,000 employees. So who was laid off and which roles are actually more valuable now? Well, we'll get to that in a moment. The reality is that this should not be any sort of big surprise. We covered this back in March, guys. I remember covering the upcoming Oracle layoffs in March, and people were like, it's not gonna happen, AI is crap, it's all fake, it's smoke and mirrors. Guys, the proof is in the pudding. It's already happened at this point. If you've been subbed to the channel, guys, I feel like an Oracle, to be honest. You know, when you look at the news, when you look at the trends, when you see what the CEOs are saying, it becomes very clear, it becomes very obvious that transformation is happening right before our eyes. And a lot of it stems, if not all of it stems, from technology and AI adoption in these organizations. If you've been subbed to the channel, this wouldn't be a surprise. You would already be in the know. And again, I think it's also important that these layoffs don't come without a cost. You know, the amount of money being spent on AI development is absolutely insane. The numbers are so big, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around it. Oracle spent $1.84 billion, almost $2 billion in severance payments and exit costs related to these restructurings. $2 billion just to lay people off. That is absolutely crazy. And by the way, that's up from $374 million the year prior. So they almost 6x'd the amount of expenditure on laying people off. Guys, the amount of money being spent is absolutely staggering. And quite frankly, people are getting nervous. People are getting nervous, especially if you're in the tech world. I think there's fair reason to be nervous. So far this year, 196 tech companies have laid off 120,000 employees. And before you say, Mark, well, that's because of this and that's because of Trump's economy and this and that, okay, fine. But the number one cited reason for the layoffs is AI. That is the number one cited reason. When a company's doing the layoff, the number one reason for that layoff that they're citing in their WARN notices is AI. In fact, if you just go back last month, 40% of the layoffs last month were directly attributed to AI. That is absolutely crazy. And again, it doesn't come without a cost. Oracle shares down 10% earlier this year. And earlier this month, they said they expect to send $70 billion in net capital expenditure on AI infrastructure. This is going to be funded by $40 billion in debt equity, not to mention another $20 billion in stock issuance. So they are raising capital like crazy. Why are they doing that? Again, AI infrastructure. This is the fuel. And there was a really smart comment that someone had put in the comments a couple days ago. And by the way, I love reading the comments. I try to reply to as many as I can. I'm getting hundreds. The other day I opened up my phone in the morning. I had 300 comments to reply to, so I'm doing my best. But you know, guys, I'm the CMO for a SaaS company. I've got obviously the YouTube channel. I'm doing YouTube and AI consulting, coaching. I'm maybe even doing a videography YouTube channel for a real estate broker and investor down here. So I got a lot of different projects in the works. But again, I read the comments, try to get to all the comments. Anyway, someone had a comment the other day that I thought was really smart. And he said, hey, during a gold rush, don't sell gold, sell picks and shovels. And that's kind of what Oracle is doing. They have a deal with Meta. They have a deal with OpenAI. They are building data centers. They're building out cloud infrastructure, AI infrastructure, and they're raising a ton of capital to do that. As far as will that all pay off, I don't know. We will find out. But I think it's also important to look at which job roles are actually irrelevant and getting laid off, and which roles are more relevant now than perhaps ever. The number one, so these were some of the top jobs that were cut. And what's also interesting is they're not just hyper focused on one department. And I think that goes to show you the wide impact of AI. I was listening to Brett Weinstein the other day, and one of the reasons he was I think he was on Modern Wisdom with Chris Williams. And anyway, or maybe it was Diary of a CEO. Anyway, Brett Weinstein's biggest fear with AI was not how powerful it is, but the speed and the scope with which it impacts. It happens very, very quickly. And once one company figures it out, every company is going to try to mimic that. And it's the scope. It's not just one department. It impacts every person in every organization at every level. And I think that is why, at least to me, what makes AI different than other technological changes that we've seen in the past. Anyway, at Oracle, we're seeing a lot of firings from a lot of different places in their organizational structure. Oracle Health, the sales department, customer service department, cloud operations, NetSuite, support, different levels of the management stack, all being trimmed down. And, again, this is something that we've seen a lot. And this was really highlighted to me when we saw the ClickUp layoffs, was laying off lots and lots of people and then flattening the organizational structure. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment here, because the reality is that there are some really key lessons here. The organizational structures for companies have changed. The old model in the past was you want to scale revenue, you need to scale people. And this is, by the way, a really hard thing to do. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, he runs a landscaping company, and if he wants to grow his revenue and grow his company, he needs to find a really great method of finding and onboarding good talent. And that's the way that traditionally all businesses have operated. But in the tech world and in the, white collar operations, like that kind of model has been shifted. Organizational structures are being flattened. Instead of having, 10 people working under one manager, you can have 100 people working under one manager, because AI is a really powerful way of kind of like micromanaging all the key performance indicators. So in any event, that we're seeing there, okay? It's also important to note that there are, we're kind of entering phase 3 of AI adoption and rollout, and Oracle has just entered phase 3. So phase 1 was about 2023 to 25, which is companies start buying AI tools. They start buying AI tools, they start using them a little bit. Now in 2025, 2026, companies stop hiring for routine knowledge-based skills and start using AI. And then in 26, what we're seeing right now, and in 2028, companies are redesigning workflows around AI-first processes and reducing staffing needs. And guys, this is what I've been preaching. This year is the year where companies stop looking at AI as a tool and start looking at AI as an employee. And we are seeing it manifest right in front of our eyes with companies like Oracle. And it's difficult to predict, this is something that I've said, I'm kind of optimistic about the future, maybe naively, but I think historically what you see is new technology brings, new technology solves old problems, but then new problems are created. And that's where guys like you and me can come into play and start solving some of these new problems. And if I look at some of the valuable jobs and problems that are going to need to be solved by humans, I'm looking at AI infrastructure like data center engineering, construction, data centers. You could see that so much money is being poured into data centers. If you understand in any sort of moniker how to kind of build and leverage this technology so that we can, companies can scale up their AI infrastructure, that becomes very valuable. AI operations like workflow architecture, product manager, AI compliance, all this stuff. We talked about this the other day, AI token managers. We cover this. I'll post a link to this video here where a company spent $500 million into AI tokens in 1 month because they were token maxing. And I think that that's a place where there's going to be a lot of need. Like, how do we make sure that these AI agents, AI employees don't go off the walls and we spend crazy amounts of money? Direct revenue rules. I think this is important too. AI consulting, enterprise AI sales, anywhere that you can say, hey, you inserted me into your company. I was able to directly, you can directly attribute me to this amount of cash. One of the problems that we've seen with AI is it's kind of reduced human accountability to an extent. People will blame AI, they'll kind of fit in and like hide in the edges, but conversely, what you really want to do is say, hey, because you hired me, I can directly attach my effort and my contribution to this revenue. In the marketing world, that's obviously really important, right? Because I'm here, we're able to generate this many amount of new leads into our business. And then lastly, skilled trades, I think is gonna be very valuable. I mean, I know robots are coming. I know robots are gonna be able to do some of this work, but like, I just feel like that's a long way out. I think we're a long way from a robot showing up to fix your electrical box or to do plumbing work, to do roofing work, electrical work. Like, we're a long way off. Like, not to say that we're not gonna have robots fixing Teslas, and the Teslas are specifically designed to be worked by robots. But there are a lot of homes out there. There are a lot of businesses out there. There are a lot of structures out there that still require human hands to repair. And so I think that that's really valuable. And I have a sponsorship with CourseCareers. This is not sponsored by CourseCareers, this video, but if you're interested in kind of dipping your toes into that, you can click the link below to check out how CourseCareers helps you get involved in some of those skilled trades. Because I think that that's very valid, very valuable, great work for guys like you and I. In any event, guys, when I look at what the future looks like, at least for me, I think about this idea. I was watching the All In podcast the other day, this idea of creators versus takers. And when I look at where I want to be in this new world moving forward, I want to be a creator. I want to be a builder. I want to build new things, and not taking. It's a difference between creating and consuming, building and taking. Be a builder. Create new stuff. Don't sit on the bench and feel like you can't contribute, because I know that you can. You have greatness inside of you. You have a God-given brain which has infinite value. So go out and make it happen. And by the way, speaking of creating, if you enjoyed the video, smash the like, smash subscribe. That little bit helps me to know that I'm on the right track. And if you have a great comment, if you leave it in the comments below, I'll pin you. I've pinned comments in the past. I'll pin them in the future. In the meantime, if you enjoyed today's video, check out yesterday's video where we talk more about how AI is impacting your workforce day in, day out, every day. I'll see you there, boys. Peace.